I'll tell you the price, sometimes I've watched, we bought 200 million an hour and the price moves down. So there's someone dumping 200 million an hour. And by the way, we're never moving it up. So if we're actually in the market buying or selling, we're never selling, but if we're in the market, there's someone on the other side of the trade that is selling faster than we are buying, right? Massive selling. So, when Germany is selling, if the US is selling, if there's obviously a huge number of sellers, they must be offshore. BlackRock is an element. There's 50,000 public companies that can just recapitalize on Bitcoin and 2x to 10x their market cap. And still, I'm not going to tell Disney, sell the theme parks and be MicroStrategy, and they're not going to listen to me anyway.
Today, after Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick unveiled his plan to turbocharge the path for Bitcoin, Bitcoin bull Michael Saylor weighs in and gives his prediction on why we can expect crypto to go up in May. Bitcoin is poised to see a monumental surge, historically tracking the price in the year following the Bitcoin halving and on the heels of multiple all-time highs. Saylor believes Bitcoin is about to make history, as we witness one of the biggest price rises so far since the creation of the dominant cryptocurrency. With thousands of institutional investors across the United States now buying Bitcoin, the demand for the leading digital asset has increased exponentially, and Saylor says everything is about to change.
Governments don't really think like Bitcoin investors, and so the market's going to go back and forth. Even the regulators, they all have some say one way or the other, and the truth is the reason Bitcoin works is because nobody wants to change it. And to make the other obvious point, we're not even 2% of the market, right? Because the market is set by, there's a huge number of sellers and there's a huge amount of capital from the traders that are speculating in it. And the market is really set based upon the balance between the buyers and the sellers. I think what's clear is the Bitcoin miners and the mining subsidy or the 450 Bitcoin a day isn't really material to the price anymore, because MicroStrategy was buying 10x that. But I'll tell you the price, sometimes we bought 200 million an hour and the price moves down. We're never moving it up. So if we're actually in the market, there's someone on the other side of the trade that is selling faster than we are buying oftentimes. So I think that we're an element. BlackRock is an element. There's arbitrageurs, there's options traders, there's a lot of hedge funds, there's a lot of deep equity funds. They're all playing, and then I think probably there's just a lot of people that maybe held Bitcoin for a long time. I think a lot of the big sellers, by the way, were the bankruptcy trust, people that seized FTX's assets or Celsius assets or BlockFi or whatever, or like the German government when they seized Bitcoin and they just dumped it. There's a lot of those non-economic actors, and more than you would think. And there could be a lot in China, right? Like if the Chinese government were to seize Bitcoin, they wouldn't be putting out a press release to tell you about it. The reason that we're able to raise the capital is because we're a publicly traded company and the capital markets trust us. The reason they trust us is because we're a US-based company. We have a board of directors pursuant to US SEC rules. So we have good corporate governance. We have an officer team. We have a general counsel, a CFO, a CEO. All of them are not me. I'm the chairman. They're all fiduciaries. They actually have legal fiduciary obligations to the shareholders, to the company. We're subject to the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. We're subject to Sarbanes-Oxley. We're subject to Dodd-Frank. And the company at this point has, I think, a very straightforward, simple, laser-eyed strategy, right? The more capital we raise, the more pressure there is to drive it up. But it's also true that Mara is, and it's also true that IBIT is, and it's also true that every other ETF and every other Bitcoin standard is, and now Similar Scientific and Metaplanet and Rumble and who knows how many other Bitcoin miners they are. An equally powerful force, by the way, is just the sentiment of Bitcoin investors. if they actually start to believe that the asset is going to be around a long time, their time horizon stretches. If it stretches from 1 year to 10 years, selling pressure drops by a factor of 10. The capital markets probably wouldn't be so sure in August of 2020 what was going to happen. And in August of 2021, not so sure. And August 22. But after a company has done the same thing 45 times, and it's done the same thing every quarter, and after they haven't done the other thing, like what's the test? Bitcoin traded down 80%. We didn't sell any Bitcoin.
Embracing an unyielding enthusiasm for the Bitcoin realm, Saylor and Lee confidently predict that explosive growth is looming on the horizon, as BlackRock and many other crypto giants are doing just that. Lee and Saylor reassure that a long-expected surge awaits. By the end of 2025, there will be 1.1 billion active crypto wallets. The pace of growth is hard to comprehend, and it will be the fastest accumulation of wealth we have ever seen. This is the conclusion of a career's worth of research. And every single chart and piece of research leads to the same conclusion. Liquidity drives everything, and crypto will be the best performing asset of them all.
For you to do exactly what MicroStrategy is doing, the Bitcoin treasury component needs to be 10x bigger than any other business you're running. So as a practical matter, I mean, the companies that are closest to us would be, say, Mara, but Mara's still got a really big Bitcoin mining and data center business, which is fine for them. I mean, there's 50,000 public companies that can just recapitalize on Bitcoin and 2x to 10x their market cap. And still, like, I'm not going to tell Disney, sell the theme parks and be MicroStrategy, and they're not going to listen to me anyway. So a company that, if Berkshire Hathaway took $100 billion and created Bitcoin Hathaway tomorrow, then they bought all Bitcoin, then they could almost be like MicroStrategy. But who's going to trust Bitcoin Hathaway when they've been in the market for a month? Right? I mean, in order to get trust, you have to have hodled through the crypto winter. And you look at the Saylor tracker, and you can see that we bought Bitcoin in every quarter, like more than 40 times. And so we have credibility. We have a $100 billion market cap. We have $40 billion of capital. I'm not terribly worried that a $1 billion company is going to catch us. And I'm not terribly worried that Google is going to put 200 billion into this, because even if Google bought 200 billion of Bitcoin, they would still have a $2 trillion company valued on the Google business and YouTube, you see. So I think we're wasting time trying to figure out how some company copies or beats MicroStrategy. Is it a problem? It's totally not. But like, figure out how to create a $100 billion business with 40 billion of Bitcoin with no other exposure. That's the other point, because you can't own anything else. It's like saying, oh, Microsoft, might rage quit the enterprise software business and just all of a sudden shut down all their servers for every company in the world. I don't think so. You think Apple Computer is going to rage quit mobile phones and shut down every mobile phone in the world? I don't think so. I think it's their business. All of that stuff is dilutive and distracting, and it undermines the volatility. The reason MicroStrategy works is it is pure Bitcoin 2x. And so you have to create, and by the way, it's pure Bitcoin 2x and trusted. You have to have $100 billion of investors in the options market and $100 billion of investors in the equity market who have to trust you to not sell the Bitcoin and to keep buying Bitcoin. So we're kind of unique. I don't claim any brilliance. We literally backed into it and got lucky. But the truth is, I think Apple and Facebook and Google and Microsoft got lucky too. I mean, and NVIDIA, it's like they were doing something. They knew it would be good, but they didn't know it would be 100x better than they expected. It's like, they kind of, you do something and then the market 100x's and you just happen to be there, and then you're Google. Okay, so MicroStrategy kind of happened to be there when the market exploded, so good for us. I'm not really worried. We raised 13 billion last month. We're going to go very, very hard. If you can go that hard, Bitcoin would go to millions of coin. If you can't go that hard, you'll just be another one. And then there's a lot of room for, it's very constructive competition. The more important point is every Bitcoin miner should recapitalize to Bitcoin. That's the important point, right? The big idea is there's like 20 publicly traded miners. When you raise $1 billion and you buy Bitcoin mining equipment, you're buying hardware which is depreciating 20% a year physically, where it's getting 20% a year less profitable because of the hash rate, where it's getting 20% a year less profitable because of the protocol, or 10%. So you're buying something that is minus 60% a year in productivity. You're investing in an asset which is losing 60% a year in productivity. When you buy Bitcoin, you're investing in an asset which is increasing 60% a year in productivity. So it's a very simple idea. Why would you burn 60% of your money every year, throwing it into a competitive hardware business where the protocol is taking you to zero, when you could increase your capital by 60% a year by simply buying the asset which the entire world wants?
In this context, Bitcoin emerges as an alternative, detached from the manipulations of the conventional economic sphere. Saylor also highlights that established corporations like Apple, Amazon, and Google will use their established relationships acquired over decades to swiftly acquire substantial amounts of Bitcoin through a spot ETF, bypassing the cumbersome processes involved in procuring the actual commodity. This disparity underscores the transformative power of cryptocurrencies in traditional financial institutions. Michael Saylor underscores the importance of embracing digital currencies as the economic landscape is changing rapidly, and urges investors to leverage Bitcoin's potential to secure a more prosperous financial future. What do you think about the latest interview with Michael Saylor? And how do you think Bitcoin's trajectory in the coming months will impact the crypto market and the world of investing? Comment down below. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more content just like this.